Yeah, good morning and good evening. So we will be going through the refuge, the precepts and the benefits of taking refuge. That is the what we were covering. So last week we covered about what to do and what to do and what not to do, right? What things we should be doing after taking refuge in the Triple Gem, and what things we should be avoiding after taking refuge in the Triple Gem. So basically 3 things to do and 3 things not to do by taking refuge in the Buddha, not to take refuge in any worldly gods, by taking refuge in Dharma, not to harm any other sentient beings, by taking refuge in the Sangha, not to not to meddle or not to get into with non-Buddhist. So I explained what each of these things means last week. So basically these are not to be influenced by non-Buddhist into changing your mind. That is what the meaning of the last part, where by taking refuge in the Sangha, you not get into with any non-Buddhist. So that what that means is that we should not be swayed. We should not be influenced to change our mind or to lose our faith in our, as a Buddhist, our faith or our tradition or our belief is in Buddha Dharma. So by listening to other people saying nice things about other traditions, beliefs, and then denigrating Buddha Dharma, you feel as if Buddhism is not good enough, and then you lose faith in the Buddha Dharma. That is the third advice: not to get into intimacy with non-Buddhist. It doesn't mean you should not talk with other people who are not Buddhist or things like that of that nature. Oh yeah. These are the 3 things to do, 3 things not to do, and the 3 things to do is by taking refuge in the Buddha, respect all forms of Buddha's images, such as Thangka, painting, or air, or any things like that. And by taking refuge in the Dharma, respect all forms of Buddha's speech. Whether it is in, so we don't have the actual speech of the Buddha because we cannot record it. At that time, there are no cameras or voice recorders at Buddha's time. But whatever Buddha spoke, it has been passed down word by word, year by year, through all the great masters, great arhats, and has been written down in the books. So these books are the representative of Buddha himself. So they are second to none. They are the Buddha's speech. So therefore, respect all forms of Buddha's speech, whether it's just one piece of paper or one whole book. Take care of it, keep it clean. If it falls down, put it on your head and then put it on something high. So regard it as an object of refuge, object of reverence. And by taking refuge in the Sangha, regard all the Dharma brothers and sisters as anyone who has received teachings, Dharma teachings, or with you as Dharma brothers and sisters, and then regard them as Sangha. Sangha basically means is a Sanskrit word. It basically means assembly, or it can also have a reference to family. So once we take refuge in the Buddha Dharma, once we take teaching from a certain guru, and everyone who take refuge or who receive teaching from one guru, we all become Dharma brothers and sisters. So just like brothers and sisters are born from the same parent, just like that, those who receive the teachings, when we receive a teaching from a certain guru, whatever realizations, whatever spiritual attainment that we may have from practicing what we learned and what we studied comes from that guru. So for that reason, all the spiritual, the students during that teaching were considered brothers and sisters. So there are spiritual brothers and sisters, just like actual blood brothers and sisters are born from the same parent. We are the spiritual brothers and sisters are born from the same guru. So those who who share the same guru, when you genuinely share the same guru, then those who genuinely share the same guru are considered Dharma brothers and sisters. So basically, after taking refuge in the Sangha, you consider all your spiritual, all the fellow Dharma students as your brothers and sisters, and respect them and take care of them and love them. So that is the things to do. So that basically sums up what we spoke last week. That's in general Buddhist Dharma practice. But then we also covered about in the special Vajrayana practices, in the tantric those who wish to follow the Vajrayana, then the guru is the essence of all the refuge. So we talk about taking refuge in the, in Tibetan Buddhism, we talk about the taking refuge in the Guru, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So there are four. Even though we recite four refuge recitations, but they are all combined in the Guru himself. So within the Guru himself, from a Vajrayana point of view, the body of the Guru can be regarded as the Sangha, his speech as the Dharma, and his mind as the Buddha, enlightened activity, enlightened consciousness of the Buddha himself. So by taking proper refuge in the Guru himself, you are taking proper refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha altogether. And in order to do this, you have to be able to see your Guru as an enlightened being, as a Buddha. So whether the Guru is a Buddha in reality, in actuality or not, is not important here. So because this is all the Buddhist teachings are about training the mind. So in order to train the mind for your own benefit, you have to see your Guru as a Buddha. If you cannot see that, if you have difficulty seeing your Guru, who is an ordinary person with flesh and bones, and then also many other flaws and many other faults, weaknesses, then maybe Vajrayana practice is not really for you. Maybe especially the highest Yoga Tantra practices, such as Anuttara Yogatara, these are Anuttara Yogacharya, these are not for you. Maybe you will be, it's okay for you to do some recitation and pray to Amitayus Buddha, or certain recitation is okay, but not really. Basically, if you are unable to see your Guru as a Buddha, you will not be able to go very far in the tantric realm. That is the truth. Now there is a long page there. Actually, there are 3 pages about how to take refuge in the Guru himself. So I would rather leave it for you to read than explain about it. Basically, taking refuge in the Guru, as I said, whether the Guru, whether your Guru is an actual Buddha or not, doesn't really matter here. And the key is that the Guru, by taking refuge in the Guru, by seeing your Guru as a Buddha, you will be able to receive the blessings of the Buddha. If you see your Guru as an Arhat, you will be receiving the blessings of Arhat. If you see your Guru as a very knowledgeable monk, then you will be receiving the blessings of a knowledgeable monk. If you see your guru as equal, then you don't receive anything, because equal things don't move. When it's something, when things are slanted, then things start to move, right? Yeah. If I put something like this, then it will move. If I put it on an equal ground, then nothing will move. So if you consider your guru to be your equal, then you will not get anything, any benefit. And if you consider your guru to have lower knowledge, inferior than you, then it's a waste of time for both, everyone. So basically, you need to regard your guru with veneration, and the more you venerate the guru, the more blessings you will be receiving. And so the supreme veneration, of course, is reserved for the Buddha. So when you regard your guru as the Buddha, when you are able to see your guru as your Buddha, if you have no discomfort seeing your guru as the Buddha, of course, we haven't been trained yet. So right now, when we try to see our guru as a Buddha, we may have some difficulties. So that is one thing. That is a challenge. It's a one thing. If you have like very strong discomfort seeing your guru as a Buddha, then maybe this practice is not for you yet. So don't worry about it. You can still do a lot of other practices: mindfulness practice, compassion-related practices, right? Bodhicitta, and a reflection on impermanence. Many other practices you can still do. One doesn't have to do tantric or Vajrayana practices, and especially the highest yoga tantra practices right away. Because if it doesn't fit for you, it's like wearing a cloth that doesn't fit for you. If you have if your body size doesn't fit into the cloth that you wanted to buy, what you have to do is you have to lose weight. You have to either you have to lose weight, or you have to do with wearing the clothes that fit you. So this is very simple thing to do in our worldly life. Similarly, in the Dharma life too, if the clothes of your Dharma practice doesn't fit your actual potential of faith, your body of faith, then you have to change either your body of faith, you have to slim it down, you have to trim it, or you have to change the Dharma cloth that you're wearing. Basically, okay. So most importantly, taking refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and especially if you are doing Vajrayana practices, since this book is about Vajrayana practices, the name of the book itself is The Words of My Perfect Teacher. So therefore, by taking proper refuge in the Guru himself, then you will be taking refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha altogether. So in one way, in the Tibetan system, we say, I take refuge in the Guru, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So there are about like 4. But in another way, we can just take refuge in just the Guru, and you have Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha altogether. So in one way, you can do it. If you want to extend it, you can expand it. You can do it with the 4 type of refuges: Guru, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Or you can just do it with the Guru, and you do not have to recite Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, because the Buddha Dhamma Sangha is actually already within the Guru. So that is the beauty of it. So then that is the then that is the key. So taking refuge in the Buddhism, taking refuge in the Triple Gem, that you would become a true Buddha, true Buddhist. So those of you who profess, we claim to be Buddhist, because we are born in a Buddhist country, we claim to be Buddhist. We say, when somebody says something bad about Buddhism, we get angry because we associate ourselves with Buddhism and all that. But if you do not have a proper refuge, then honestly, from the Buddha's teaching point of view, from what the Buddha has prescribed to us, you are not a Buddhist until you have taken refuge in the Buddha Dharma and Sangha. if you do not take refuge, if you do not have infallible trust in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, then no matter what you claim to be, no matter how knowledgeable you are, no matter how many times of Ngondo or any recitation or Dharma practice or Vajrayana, receive any empowerment, whatever you went, you attended, any teaching you have attended, any empowerment you have attended, actually it's all zero. You are not a Buddhist. You are not a follower of the Buddha. You may consider yourself to be a follower of the Buddha, but you are actually not. This is strictly from the text. So as if you have total faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha, then if you do none of the things that we just talked about, you are still a very good Buddhist. So being a Buddhist or not a Buddhist is determined by whether you have a proper refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So for that reason, taking refuge is very important key. So there's a line on page number 186. There's a line: those who take refuge in the Buddha are true lay followers. They are no longer they no longer should seek refuge in any other deity. Those who take refuge in the sacred Dharma should have no harmful thoughts. Those who take refuge in the noble Sangha should no longer associate with Tirthikas. And then another line in page number 187. At the end of 500 years, my presence will be in the form of scriptures. Consider them as identical to me and show them due respect. So this is actually in reference to the time of the decline of the Buddha Dharma, Buddha's teaching. So at the end of 500 years means, so the Buddha's teaching is supposed to last, it's not supposed to, it's prophesied to last for 5,000 years or 500 years. So there will be 10 sets of 500 years. So at the end of the 10th 500 year, Buddha's teaching will be gone. So here when he, at the end of 500 years means at the end of the 10th 500 year, Buddha's teaching will be, Buddha himself will be gone. There will be no Buddha. Like in the general public, right now we have the ability to like see Buddha's images in the form of like scripture, form of tanka, form of what they call it, statues and tankas and all this. Even though we cannot see the Buddha himself, but we have not been like able to see the Buddha himself because he passed away 2,600 years ago. But we still have his images, his pictures, right? But at the end of the 500 year or like 2,400 years from now, so Buddha's teaching, Buddha's images will all be gone. So no one will be able to remember how the Buddha looked like. So people will no longer pay attention to how the Buddha looked like. And at that time of the day, what will remain is some of the sayings, some of the quotes of the Buddha, such as like Buddha said, do not harm others. Buddha said to tame your mind, etc., etc. So Buddha's, at the end of the Buddha's 500 years from Buddha, when Buddha passed away, the only presence of the Buddha will be his text, his scripture, his teaching. His image will not be there. His his body will not be there. His mind will also not be there. Only thing that will remain is his scripture, which will, and then those who wish to follow the Buddha should consider the scriptures as identical to Buddha, and then show them the due respect that you would reserve otherwise for Buddha himself. Oh yeah. Now we will talk about how to take refuge, and so the so the how is clear. Now why we should take refuge in the Buddha, or basically the benefits. What are the benefits of taking refuge in the Triple Gem? So the taking refuge in the, if you're reading the book, it's on page number 187 on the last paragraph. Taking refuge is the foundation of all practices. By simply taking refuge in the Triple Gem, you plant the seed of the liberation, seed of the nirvana within yourself. You distance yourself from all negative actions you have accumulated in the past and develop more and more positive actions. And taking refuge is the support for all vows, is the basis for all the vows, the source of all the good qualities. Ultimately, it will lead you to the state of Buddhahood, not just to a state of nirvana or liberation, but to the state of Buddhahood, state of complete enlightenment. In meanwhile, it will secure you the protection of the beneficent gods. So there are two types of gods, like what we usually call the positive gods and the negative gods. So the gods who, the deities, who, not deities as in a meditational deity, but just we have the 6 realms. So there are gods. Gods are one of the 6 realms, one of the 3 upper realms, higher realms. So within those realms, there are gods who are attuned to helping people, serving the Dharma, etc. And those there are gods who are really envious of the Dharma practitioners, and they really have a very strong negative view towards the Buddha's teaching, etc. So here we are talking about the beneficent gods, meaning the gods who have an affinity towards Buddha's teaching and the Buddhist practitioners. So those gods will protect you. And taking refuge is also seen as a support. Here it's like a support system, meaning we do a lot of practices, we do a lot of Dharma practices, but our mind is fleeting. Our mind is not very, because Dharma practice is not easy, and we, like everything else in our world, in our life, when we do something, after a certain time, when something takes a very long time, in the beginning we may have a very strong we are very excited, we have a very strong intuition to do something, and as time passes on, then we become tired, we don't want to continue, and there are many negative influences from outside world, which will sway our mind from doing anything, right? Like, for example, pursuing education, pursuing a certain job, pursuing a business, whatever. Similarly, in the spiritual realm, many of the practices, such as taking, developing bodhicitta, understanding emptiness, etc. So these things take a lot of time, and these are very, very time-consuming too. And when these things persist, you lose faith. You may lose faith. You may, fall back. And when you fall back, the place where you should fall back, the place where that will kind of like keep you pushing, even when you fall back, your support system is basically that refuge. So when you have the proper refuge, and if you have infallible faith in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, if you have infallible faith in your guru, then even when you cannot do some practices, when you fail to do like your daily practices, when you fail to do, when you meditate and you cannot understand anything, when you meditate and you cannot have any clear vision, when you read a book and cannot understand anything, and you kind of start to lose faith, but when you have the refuge, then it kind of gets you back right on track. It's like when, in our day-to-day life, when we cannot do anything, we feel like we have when we lose hope, and then we have some person in our life who will say, hey, it's all right, this happens to everyone, you just keep going on, and someone to push you, basically someone to push you, so that you persist, and then that will actually get you to your destination. So the refuge is something like that. So with the refuge will always be your support system. Will always have hold your back, always push you from the back. Then so therefore taking refuge is very important, and that is one of the. So these are the main benefits of taking refuge: having a support system and distancing yourself from negative influences, and associating yourself with positive things. So all these comes from taking refuge. So once you have taken refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, so they become like your mentor, and then they will push you to do the positive things and restrict or refrain you from doing the negative things, etc. Because once you, of course, it's not like the Buddha will come down and stop you, pull you back physically. But if you have proper faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, then you will always be conscious of your actions, etc. And then by refraining from taking negative actions and associating yourself in the positive things, you will, of course, be able to skip the lower realms, such as hell beings and the ghost, hungry ghost realms, etc. And then you will be able to, born in the higher realms, study the Dharma and progress in your spiritual path. And then also one very important thing is that if you don't have proper refuge, then you will not have any vows. So Bodhisattva vows, Vajrayana vow, tantric vows, or the Pratimoksha vows, or the monks' vows. So if you don't have proper refuge, so then you don't have any vows. So here there's a line on page number 188. There's a line from the book called 70 Stanzas on Refuge. It says, "Indeed, anyone can take the vows, except those who have not taken refuge." So also in the sutra talks about any in the Pratimoksha Sutra, in the sutra for the vows of the monks, it says, as a monk, when you lose faith in the Buddha Dharma, then without doing anything else, you cease to become a monk. You lose your vows. When you lose your faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you lose your vows automatically. So in order to, there are certain categories, like certain conditions in which you may lose your vows, and one of them is that by losing faith in the Buddha Dhamma and Sangha, because you gained your vows from the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, so to speak. And when you lose faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, when you lose faith in the refuge, when you no longer have the refuge, the Gyamdo, then you no longer have any vows. And when you no longer have any vows, you're no longer a monk, you're no longer a Bodhisattva practitioner, you're no longer a Vajrayana practitioner, etc. So having refuge, the refuge vows, or having refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha is key to all the other forthcoming qualities, spiritual qualities, and vows, etc. And so also not just like monastic vows, also for those when we take the Nyungne, in the morning of the Nyungne, we take the what we call the short-term vow. So the 5 vows, the lay people's vow. In order to do that, you also have to take refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So those of you who have taken Nyungne, you remember that before we take the vow, we actually take refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So it's kind of like most of us who practice, like refuge on a daily basis, we supposedly have the refuge within us, but just to reassure ourselves, to strengthen our motivation, we take the refuge once more. So you might have taken refuge once you wake up from your bed, but then when we start the Nyune at the very early morning, we take refuge once more, just to strengthen, to fortify the refuge, because refuge is the beginning of everything. And with by taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, So by taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then we create the link between this ordinary life, this ordinary state of life, to the extraordinary life or state of life of the enlightened beings. So basically, by taking refuge in the, by taking refuge, we create the link between the unenlightened to the enlightened world. So there are some stories related to taking refuge. So even, of course, the best is to, the most proper way is to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, both physically, verbally, and mentally. Then even if you cannot do that, even if you just take refuge or pay respect to the Buddha's image or something like that, Buddha's a representation of the Buddha's image, just physically, that will also be of great benefit. And so that's also one of the reasons why, even though sometimes we take the kids, small kids, even though they do not know how to recite or anything, we may take them for the Kora. When they go for Kora, they accumulate great amount of merit. So the story goes that in the Vinaya Sutra, there was a story of one pig. The pig was being chased down by the a dog, a game dog, the dog that the hunters use to track down animals. So the dog, the hunting dog, was chasing a pig, and the pig was running and running, and the pig was actually when the pig was running away from the dog, the tracking dog, it actually accidentally kept going around a stupa, which has a Buddha's relic and Buddha's image, etc. So because of that, both the pig and the dog, they both ran around, take a kora of the statue. And it is said that because of that, they both were able to sow the seed of enlightenment within them. So we call that the seed of enlightenment. The seed of enlightenment is a type of virtue, meritorial virtue that we require in order to become to take a monastic vow. You would need to have that. So if you do not have the seed of enlightenment, then you will not be able to. You cannot be ordained. Of course, it's different this day. In today's time, there's a different thing. But on those in the past, the preceptor, the one who ordains the monk, will actually check whether you have the seed of enlightenment or not. And if you do not have that, then you will not be ordained. That's one story. Even though the pig and the dog doesn't have know anything about this statue or a Buddha or anything, but just by merely physically going around the statue, by physically going around the stupa, they were able to accumulate this merit. Another story is the story of the three men putting on three men accumulating merit from taking care of a tsatsa. So tsatsa is like a small statue that we mold on a clay. It can be tsatsa or it can be a image of a Buddha or Bodhisattva, etc. So basically, a small tsatsa, small statue, miniature statue. Someone made a statue and put it on a stupa or somewhere around like that. And because the tsatsa is made of clay, it melts. It can be washed away when it rains. So then someone saw that tsatsa being washing. Someone saw the tsatsa there in the rain, and he felt that it would be washed away by the rain, and so he took out his shoes and put it on the tsatsa, put it on the statue of the Buddha. He said, I should take care of it, Then another person after the rain came and saw the tsatsa being put under the tsatsa being covered with a shoe, and he felt like, oh my God, what is that guy doing? Whoever did that? You know, how can you put something like a shoe, such a dirty thing, on top of a tata? And he threw away the tata. Threw away the shoe from the tata. So basically, three people: the person who make the tata, accumulated great merit, and the person who felt bad for the tata being washed away by the rain, put the something dirty as a shoe. Shoe is usually dirty. We don't put shoe in our table. We don't. Most of us, we don't wear the shoe inside the room, right? In our most of the Eastern culture, we don't wear shoes inside the house even. So by putting the shoe on the Buddha is something unthinkable. But this guy actually has a good intention of just taking care of keeping safe the Buddha's image, the clay, the tata. So he put the shoe on there, and the shoe was actually, the tata was actually safe. So his intention was good. So he accumulated great merit. And another person who came after the rain saw the tata is being in the rain, and he felt like, oh, you know, one should not do that. And with his good intention, he threw away the shoe. So these three guys, they all gain the same amount of merit because they all have the same amount of faith and veneration to the Triple Gem. So this is not directly related to you know, taking refuge, but is something slightly connected, associated with the refuge and the Buddha Dharma, has such a strong merit. Then another story was there was a story. I remember this story. The last story, actually, my father told me when I was very young. So it's kind of like a funny story. So the story goes that there was a thief, went to, so from one village. So usually thieves go to steal from another village, because if you steal from your own village, people will know, right? So the thief went to steal from another village or another town, and he got caught. And the person who caught the thief, he's actually sort of a practitioner too. But in those days, of course, you have to make an example of someone if you want to stop them from stealing. So what he did was he bring the thief in the house, and then he beat the thief. Actually, the story goes something like, it's not into this book, but the story goes something like the thief came to steal something from the window, and the guy who was inside the house, he saw the hand coming through the window, and he caught the hand, right, of the thief. And then he keep hitting the hand of the thief with a stick, and he keeps saying, Lama la kyapsucho, Sangye la kyapsucho, Cho la kyapsucho, Gindu la kyapsucho. So every time he hit him, he decides saying, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, like that. So he keep hitting the thief until the thief also started to repeat the same lines, like, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha, like that. So he kept, he beat him really badly. So when he was, so after he repeated, after a certain amount of time, the thief, he let the thief go. So when the thief is leaving the town to his own place, his own village, he was in such a pain, agony, breathing in pain, that he keeps saying like, oh, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, and like that. So when he was returning home, it became dark, and then he was crossing a bridge. He had to cross a bridge in order to get to his village. So there used to be a lot of ghosts in that area. So usually the ghost and people usually, when they cross the bridge after darkness, they would always be taken by the ghost, the demons. And that night, the thief, usually he would avoid going through crossing that bridge, because at dark there's always a ghost. But that night he was so beaten up, he was such a pain that he forgot about crossing the bridge. And on the middle of when he finished crossing the bridge, he finally realized that he actually was able to cross the bridge. And when he got home, everybody was surprised how he was able to cross the bridge. And so there was a Lama who has actually clairvoyance, who can see what other people think. So he said that at that time, when the thief was crossing the bridge, reciting Lama la kyapsucho, Sangye la kyapsucho, Sho la kyapsucho, like that, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the demons, the ghosts around that area could only see a monk, a very holy monk, someone in the appearance of a very holy monk, very holy person, basically. They couldn't see a thief. They couldn't see any ordinary being. They could only see a very holy person crossing the bridge. So instead of harming that person, they were so shy. They were so embarrassed with the negativity that they did. The ghost, they're eating people and all that. So they were so embarrassed with their actions. And instead of harming that person, they just run away. So the story goes that, and then the story became very famous in that kind of area, that if you take refuge in the, it become like a real life example that if you take refuge in the triple gem, then you will not be harmed by the ghost, etc. So, this is a good idea. If you want to steal, you should recite, take refuge in the triple gem. Oh yeah. The questions? Any questions?
We have 2 questions from last week, Rinpoche.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll read those. Prostrate to Rinpoche La. Can you please explain in more details the part where you instructed us that we should always contemplate in the triple gem, for example, while eating, while walking, and breathing. Can you please explain this part a little bit further? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Oh yeah. So basically what it means is you should always keep the triple gem in your mind. For example, as a parent, right, especially as a mother, many of you that when your kids are small, when they go to school, the whole day, even though you are staying home or maybe you are doing your work or anything, your mind always runs to where your children are, right? To the school, or if you're wherever your children are, your mind always runs there. So your physical body may be in another place, but your mind always runs to your kids. So something similarly, as a Dharma practitioner, especially as someone who has taken refuge in the triple gem, one's mind should always be filled with the thought of the triple gem, and that thought should always be there, always conscious of the triple gem, always be conscious of the presence of the triple gem. And if you have that, as I said earlier, this will be like a support system, backup system, backup for you in any situation that you fall into. So yeah, thinking of contemplating on the Buddha, Dharma, the triple gem during waking hours, during sleeping hours, etc. So as I explained, also written in the text itself, that when you are walking, if you think of one way of doing a very short kora, right, going around circumambulation, is to visualize the triple gem on your right shoulder, so that whenever you keep moving, you are actually going around the triple gem, right? So that way, as we have seen in the story of the pig and the dog, etc., we know that going for a kora is such a meritorious activity. So by visualizing the triple gem on your shoulder, when we just keep walking, we are just by doing a very ordinary walk, we are actually doing, by doing your whatever walk you have to do. Most of us, because we have to move in our day-to-day life to do our work, to get to our lunch, etc. So when we are moving, automatically we are accumulating merit by doing kora as well. Then again, when we eat the food, if you visualize the triple gem within your throat, within your the throat area, the neck area, then whatever food you consume, you can visualize that as being an offering to the triple gem. So when you are eating, the triple gems are also eating. So therefore, whatever, so many times we forget to make the prayers, the offering, right? Like before we eat, we don't make the offerings. So so prayer is nothing but is a reminder that our food has been accumulated through a lot of hardship from many other people, many people actions to put together. That's why we have the food on the table. So all these things we remind ourselves by taking, and then we thank we offer gratitude to the triple gem for making us realize that the food that we have on the table is due to thanks from all the sentient beings, and that may all the sentient beings also gain enlightenment through this process. So when we forget to do these things, to do the actual prayer of doing the long prayer, by just visualizing the triple gem by your throat, when you are eating, you are making offering to the triple gem. So therefore, you have this, you're not missing out on the food prayer, food offering prayer as well. So that is concluded here. So when you sleep, if you have the, as I said with the analogy of the children, the parents always worrying about their children. So when your kid has gone to a boarding school, or when your kid is no longer with you, has gone to some other place, the mother, when they sleep, the only thing they think about in their heart is their kids. So similarly, when you have the Buddha Dharma, the Buddha Dharma Sangha at your heart, when you sleep in that sense, that manner, that way, you have whatever has happened that day, whatever good thing, bad thing, whatever thing happened, when you sleep with the triple gem by your heart, you will have a good night's sleep. In a very simple term, you will have a very good night's sleep. So then, when you are sitting doing your practices itself, other than the refuge practices, if you're doing like other practices, you visualize the triple gem and all the merit field on top of your head, and that way you are receiving the blessings all the time. So wherever you go, you receive the blessings. No matter how long you stay in a single position, in a certain position. For example, like when you are working in your office, right? Many of us are working in office, so you are sitting there working on your computer, all that. But then if you visualize on your top of your head, you have the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, the triple gem, and all the merit field on the top of your head. You keep receiving the blessing the whole day. For 8 hours you keep working, you keep receiving 8 hours amount of blessing the whole day. So that way, some people say like, oh, I don't have time to practice. Actually, if you know how to practice, then you have time to practice the whole day. So you do not actually have to, put on like certain robes or go to a temple, etc., in order to practice. I'm not against that. Okay, so just don't make the wrong impression. I'm not against all of that, any of that. But even if you cannot get that, you can practice in any form. Many times, as I said, many of our great masters, they practiced a lot when they were put into prison. So the prison, they're not allowed to recite any Dharma words, anything. So any recitation they have to do, they recite it silently, and they are not allowed to sit like this. So they just lie down like in sleeping position, and then they meditated. So, and then in my own example, I would usually do a lot of contemplation and meditation while going in the plane or in the car. So basically, while moving, if you can integrate your practices into your day-to-day life, then you have 24 hours to do your practices. If you set aside a time for you to practice, then you have only 1 hour, 2 hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes to practice. But if you can integrate your whole practice into your life, then the whole day, the 12 hours, 24 hours, actually 24 hours, because 12 hours of 12 to 18 working hours, you keep, contemplative sort of meditation. And the remainder, when you go to sleep, you also can visualize the triple gem by your heart, and you are sleeping on the lap of Amitabha Buddha, etc. And by doing that, you also practice during the nighttime, sleeping time as well. So basically your waking time as well as sleeping time both are combined of Dharma practices. So basically you are practicing not for 1 hour, 2 hours in a temple, in an outside temple, but you are practicing 24/7 in your inner temple, within your own body. So that is something very, very powerful. It is very effective, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The next question, Rinpoche.
Yes, go on.
Rinpoche, please teach us about what is called the outer refuge, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and the inner refuge, root guru, Yidam, Dhammapala, and secret refuge, view, meditation, conduct. How do these different classifications differ from each other? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah. So this, the answer to this question will actually come as we progress with our teachings. But basically, external refuge means the refuge that is when you take refuge in anyone other than yourself. When you take refuge in the guru, which is a different individual from you, that is usually the outer refuge. That is the outer refuge. So basically, his teaching, which is comes from his mouth, that is an outer refuge, and the sangha also, the assembly is out there. So as long as you know, in the beginning, of course, initially we all have to go through this process. But as you progress in your practices, then you no longer have to rely on the external Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but you begin to see the Buddha within yourself, the Dharma within yourself, and the Sangha within yourself. And especially you can do that when you take refuge in when you take the Guru Yoga, the Guru refuge, as we as explained in the text earlier about the Guru's body as the Sangha, the Guru's speech as the Dharma, and the Guru's mind as the Buddha's enlightened mind, right? The Guru's mind as the Buddha's enlightened mind. So that is when we are able to see the Guru himself as the union of all the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha himself, then during the Guru Yoga, what we usually do is yoga means to unite or to immerse. So when you do the Guru Yoga practice, initially you have the Guru who is external, outside of you, but as you progress in your practices, you become your own guru, so to speak. As Buddha said, you are your own master, so you become your own guru. And when we call that the Qi Yongzi and Nanga Yongzi sometimes, like inner guru and outer guru as well. So when you see first, you need to know that triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha very well, right? Once you know that, you try to see the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha within not three different things, three different objects, but one object, as in the Guru. So the Guru epitomizes the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha altogether, right? The external Guru. And once you are familiar with that, then you internalize the Guru within yourself, okay? So first you have to understand Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha in general, outside, externally, very well. Once you understand that, then these three things become one in the Guru. Still, it's still an external, outside Guru, external Guru, but it's a Guru. It's just one person. So within one person, you have the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha all together. So it becomes more condensed. Okay. So after that Guru, which is your external Guru, outside Guru, like you and me seeing each other. So it becomes, instead of that, it becomes you internalize the Guru practice itself, and you become your own Guru. And when you at that stage, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha also has been, when you internalize the Guru, since the Guru epitomizes the union of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha altogether. So you have the Buddha Dhamma Sangha within yourself as well. So the deity and all these things are, you talk about the idam and all these things. These are sort of accessory. So they all play different roles, but the main thing is this. So as we progress in our class, we will come to these topics.
That's all for today, Rinpoche.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dedication, please. Yewan di nyurdo da lama sangye chubgyuro nendrowa chigyang malu banke ye sala gerbara shu janjo sem Rinpoche ma ye panama ge gyuro chi keba nyamba me bara yang kone gondo gevara shu
Yan bei nimbo chimbai peonga shing la do ku la chang jo lo kwang jo ki da so